You are going to come out the other side of this better, stronger, and have an amazing story. Today, we interview Mr. Aaron Hurd, who just became the newest Iron Man triathlete. We're going to be learning all about his experiences and his story in preparation for and the actual race day, and making all of the comparisons that you're going to want to know about to thrive in this headwind market. It's going to be an awesome episode. Do not miss it for 1 minute. The big question is this: how do those of us in the real estate industry with crazy amounts of ambition, how do we think bigger than the building of our own empires? How do we simultaneously seek success and significance, income and impact? My name is Justin Stoddard, and this is the Think Bigger Real Estate Show. Aaron Hurd, my friend, welcome back to the show. So glad to have you here. I still remember the day that we did our last episode several years ago in person, pre-COVID, in a room together, just the two of us.
So much fun. So much fun. Thanks for having me back.
Dude, it's such a pleasure. I'm so inspired by the person who you've become, which already was an amazing human when we got together last time. And since then, you've grown incredible in business and in life. And I'm thrilled to really get into your story today, because I know there are a lot of agents out there right now who are facing a headwind in the real estate market, right?
We all are.
Yeah. And we're asking ourselves, like, is it worth it? Right. And if so, how do I get through this and come out better on the other side? Which is exactly what you did, right? Is you went through the brutal process of traveling by water, by bike, and by foot, 140.6 miles in a matter of 1 day. Look at that. Look at that. Aaron Hurd, you are an Iron Man. So there's so many lessons. I'm sure we could spend hours and hours extracting them all. But I really want to dig into that. Before we do that, let's give some context to those that are just hearing you for the first time, right? You are the owner of Realtor Property Group out of Portland, Oregon. Have a very successful team here. You're an executive mastery coach in MAPS, coach some of the top, most successful agents around the country. And you have 2 beautiful children, beautiful wife, and just have some great things going on, man. So it's such a pleasure to have you here. Because again, our mission is not just to build empires, right, in business, but it's really to pursue success and significance. And you're a guy who we look up to who is doing both. So super glad to have you here. Let's dive in, man. So talk to us about when you made the decision to become an Iron Man. How did that all start?
So 2 years ago, I have a coach. I have multiple coaches, though that one of these coaches challenged me to run a marathon distance over the course of a week. And at this time, well, actually, this is like 3 years ago, so I apologize. About 3 years ago, he made that challenge for me. And I accepted the challenge begrudgingly. I wasn't a runner at that point in time. And I accepted it. And like you, when we say we're going to do something, we do it. And I finished that week beat up, down and out, destroyed, man. My legs were hurting so bad at the end of that week. And I came out of that thinking, this is ridiculous. Like, I am a young man, right? Not even 40 years old at this time. There's no reason on God's green earth why I should feel the way I feel from running. Like, it just didn't make sense to me. Yeah. So I chose to make that a thing so I could not feel this way. It's like, I'm gonna do something. And so from that, had the conversation with my coach, ended up signing up for a marathon.
So pause really quickly. I think there's a lesson to be learned from that. Whether it be your physical condition, maybe your relationship status, or whether it be your bank account and business. We've probably all gotten to a point at some point where it's like, enough is enough. This is freaking enough. I am better than this.
Yeah.
I am not going to live this way anymore. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. Like, this enough. And it sounds like that's where you got to, right? Was that point of like decision where it's like, this is unacceptable.
Yeah. Yeah. And it hurt physically. Like, it hurt. It was bad. Though again, it's like, I had to go through that pain to understand that this is not okay. And I'm not going to continue to allow this to show up. And so we ended up signing up for the Portland Marathon which was at the tail end of the year in October. And this was like a January, February type timeline. So it's like, okay, now that I have this new destination, I understand that I need to become physically in shape and capable to do it. And so then talked with other people that have done marathons, researched it. I mean, oh my gosh, there's a tremendous amount of data online. Shocker. And there's these programs that you can follow. And I happen to fall under a Peloton program, which is a phenomenal experience of my own, where it's like, it's just on Monday, you do this, on Tuesday, you do this, on Wednesday, you do that. And you know, over 6 days out of a 7-day week, you are exercising following their plan. At the beginning of the plan, it was very easy, almost too easy. And yet you just follow the plan, trust the process. And towards the end of it, it's a big deal. I mean, you're running 20 something miles on your weekends. You're running like full sprints for an hour with these, you know, breakups, and you're lifting weights. You're doing things that, well, I never did before. Right? It's just with that consistency allowed me to show up and finish my first marathon and not like be totally destroyed. I got destroyed, don't get me wrong, but not totally destroyed.
Was there a point, Aaron, where you were, so first and foremost, you hit bottom where it's like, okay, that's enough. I'm not going to live this way anymore. Secondly, you had enough faith and belief that I can change that you went out looking for help, right? Talk to us about that. Was there anything in there that said like, you know what, maybe I'm too old for this. Maybe this isn't, maybe the herds aren't the running type, right? Was there any like language that went on in your head that almost caused you to not even try to fix the original problem that you were fed up with?
I don't believe so. Mm-hmm. Looking back, that's not in my DNA, Justin. I feel like other people have gone before me, and if they can do it, what reason I can't?
Yeah.
You know, it's not an ego thing, though. It's like, are they really that much better than who I am right now? It's like they just acted different. And so it's like, let's just follow a model. I'm not trying to be the David Goggins of the world, right? If you don't know who he is, research him. He'll blow your mind. That's not my walk or my journey, though. It's just about me becoming a better version of myself. And there's amazing human beings out there that are battling with much more challenging things than just being a middle-aged man and struggling to run a few miles that do these things. You know, my friend Dan, who's a Keller Williams associate, and he is sponsored a man with Down syndrome who just finished their first Ironman. Actually, they completed and finished a World Series Ironman. It's a first man with Down syndrome, and he's crushing it physically and amazing. There's blind individuals that are going through it. There's people in wheelchairs that are doing things like this. It's like, man, that's inspiring. And if they can do that, the herds can do that.
Yeah. So obviously tying this back to business, right? I hope everybody here doesn't allow any of that self-talk to come in, right? Some people are blessed to have maybe been raised in an environment where that doesn't enter in. Others may not, where it's like, you know, maybe I can't do that. Maybe I can't have a successful business. Maybe I'm not made up for this. And what I hear you saying, Aaron, is that you don't believe that, number one, if you do have that. And number two, go looking for people out there who overcome far greater odds to create the similar success that you want than you ever will. And so if they can do it, you can do it. So simply have the faith and the belief in the fact that, like, yes, I can become somebody different than I am today. Other people have made a more drastic transformation than I have. So if they can, I can, right?
Yeah. I like it. I mean, going back to in business, and we're on pace for selling just under $100 million in sales this year, Justin.
So cool.
And we're in 6 locations across the country now, and we're building up this amazing. It's amazing. And I liken it to everything. We trust the process. If you want to become a really skilled practitioner, then follow a process. Develop your skills every day. Say these words, use these phrases, ask for the appointment, this volume of time, and more likely than not creates this result. Mm-hmm. Like, we can't control the outcome,
right?
Though we certainly can plan for it.
Influence it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, this is my belief. I believe that if I model after these individuals, if I follow this plan, mm-hmm. and I have to have the discipline to stay committed to doing the work. And I'll tell you, there's a lot of days that you don't want to do the work. And, we could talk about that too, though. There's the discipline aspect of just showing up and doing it.
How do people, I believe that's where a lot of people get stuck, right? Is they have this initial dream, they go out, they find people who have done it before. It's like, okay, I'm going to do this. Yeah. And then
they're motivated or inspired.
Yes. And then something comes in on those mornings or those moments when you don't want to pick up the phone, where you don't want to make those contacts, where you don't want to put your running shoes on. What's some of the best advice you have to help people to where that doesn't become their pitfall?
Yeah. Motivation is short-lived. It is what it is. Motivation is dumb. We don't need to be motivated. What we need to do is be committed to a plan. Like, truly, when we establish a business plan, we establish an idea that here's the outcome in which I desire, and here's what my plan is to create that income or result in units or whatever it is, right? And then what happens, because we're all fired up, we're excited about it, January 1st, right? Look at what happens, all the New Year's resolutions, we get after it, and then it gets hard or it gets boring. And then we stop doing it and we start looking at new ideas, new concepts, creative models to create a different result. Just because we're no longer motivated to it. Maybe we're even meeting or exceeding the goal, but we just literally stop doing what we said we were going to do from the start. And then it gets weird, right? What we need to do is to develop a discipline that says, no, I'm unwilling to not do this every day or not follow this plan. It doesn't happen to be an everyday thing. You don't have to exercise for 3 hours a day, every single day, 6 days a week or 7 days a week to achieve huge goals like an Iron Man 140.6 mile triathlon. It doesn't take your life to do it. It takes an amount of discipline to consistently, and that's the key word, consistently, push towards your outcome, whether you feel like it or not.
I think, like you said, is that find a model that has worked for other people and commit to the model, right?
Stop creating the wheel.
Yeah. And I think one thing that has shown up for me just today. So if people that are watching this broadcast live, you'll notice it looks like I have a black eye. I don't know who hit me. I don't think anybody hit me. I think I have a cold or something that set into my eye. I have every reason in the world today to say, this is not a good video day, right? I do not look that good. For those that want a closer look at it, and I've compared that, although it's a very tiny thing, right? It went through my head maybe I shouldn't do video. And I'm like, bull crap. I'm committed to do video every day, right? That's part of my plan. That's part of the model that I subscribe to. And I think we just have to realize that we are never going to be totally ready or in the perfect shape to do the work.
Yeah.
And the minute that we start thinking the conditions aren't perfect, then we are essentially uncommitting from everything, from the outcome and the plan that will get us to the outcome. We have to overcome the fact of the conditions are never going to be perfect, never. And we're never going to be perfectly ready or feel just like we're ready for it.
And you have no control over the conditions, whether it's cold, rainy, interest rates go up, housing prices go down. You have no control over any of that. So why even try? Why even try to have control over it? Just do what you can control. In our world, we hire coaches. I'm a coach for my organization, and we have a firm resolve over being really clear on what our commitments are this week based on how we want our outcomes to look at the end of the week and at the end of the month. We model it through a 4-1-1, very simplistic practice. Say, here's what my year goal is. Here's what my monthly commitments are to be in alignment with hitting that year. And here's what I need to do this week to be in alignment with hitting my goal this month. Very simplistic. And so we sit down and we go, okay, great. you said you were committed to doing this volume of conversations, scheduling this many opportunities, moving people forward at this level, following up, doing these actions. How did you do? Simple as that. And then based on how you did, how do you feel about that? If you love how you feel about it and yet you didn't hit your goal, we're going to have a conversation around your commitment towards actually finishing at the level in which you said you wanted to finish, right? Which might result in going to have conversations, hard conversations with your family, with your kids, saying that trip to Disney World is going to get canceled because I don't really want to work that hard to get us there. So don't get your hopes up, son. Like, let's just be real about it. If you're not willing to do the work, don't plan on getting to the finish line in the timeline that you said you wanted to be there. And there's no judgment on that. Nobody's forcing you to go make a bunch of money or go to do an Iron Man. It's your choice. Except when you commit to it, in my world, we take that pretty serious.
Yeah, it's just being real, right? Is that we can't kid ourselves and think that without doing the work that we're going to get there. Like nobody who's ever succeeded at anything for an extended period of time ever got there by any other path than committing to a plan and a model and doing the work even when they didn't feel like it. That's just the recipe, folks. It's just the recipe. And I'm sure it was the recipe for you.
What's that? Rarely is there luck or hope involved. Like it happens that people get lucky and
sporadically, right?
It's just not a great strategy or a plan.
Yeah.
Could you imagine towing the line on your first marathon or an Ironman without having a executed plan prior to it? This is like the first time you're like, I got this. I'm going to get lucky.
That's funny, right? And in fact, this is kind of where I want to go with this now is that let's go, the preparation has to be in place, right? You just can't win if you don't have the preparation. Now, even on race day, I was just glued to your post when you were describing like the race day events, because I could just see you there, right? And you show up and the bus is supposed to come and tell us what happened. Like you're like expecting things to happen in a certain way. Even on race day, you've done all the preparations. You're there, you're ready to go, right? And talk to us about some of the things that were unexpected on race day that you were like, whew, I didn't really prepare for that.
Yeah. Well, so there's this checklist and I've created a checklist and I had it on my whiteboard from the time I'm waking up to the time I'm being at a place, and then what nutrition, what food I'm taking in, putting in my body, to the calories and the sodium and the like legit is a plan. And that plan executed created great results for other people. So that's like, let's just go model after this, right? Yeah. So we have, we're going to swim 2.4 miles. We're going to go for a nice, lovely swim in the morning. We are going to, after the swim, we're going to go find our bicycles and go for a nice 112-mile bike ride. And then after that lovely jaunt down the street, we're going to go and park our bikes, put on running shoes, and then just do a nice little 26.2-mile run through the backcountry of Sacramento.
No big deal, right? Don't overthink it. No big deal.
Me and the bros going out for a nice little joyride. No, when we go there first in the morning, they open up this, what they call transition, and everybody calls them T1, T2. Okay, transition 1 is when you first get out of the water and you get into your bike and you transition from being a swimmer into a biker. And then that's like the central grounds. And then you go park your bike there and you enter in T2. And T2 is when you park your bike and you transition from a biker to a runner. Make sense? Mm-hmm. So we start out by going into the transition, and they put us in a stadium, which is kind of an odd place to put a transition because the way you have to it takes a lot of walking. Going up to the front gates of it's a ball stadium, and then walking around where the athletes or the dugouts are, where the ball players go play, all the way behind through the like concessions, and then wraps back around. And it's a long walk. And so it's cold, you have shorts on, you got tight clothes, you're not bundled up, or I wasn't bundled up. I wasn't really prepared for just being cold and, that. So we get in there, got a nice walk, get down to the bike, pump up the tires, make sure everything is like organized and ready for transitioning from being a swimmer to a biker. And we go from this transition area, we walk out, and there's supposed to be buses that shuttle us to the swim start, because we're swimming 2.4 miles. So they're going to take us to a drop-off point, and then we'll go downstream to where we exit, and then we get out. Well, there's 3,000 athletes plus their spectators, their family members that can go. They announced all this stuff, and it's like, hey, everybody gets on the bus, and then spectators can get shuttled back to watch their athletes exit the water, and and just be there, moral support. And the buses are like not moving. There's like 5 buses for all 3,000 of us plus spectators, and we're in line. And the race is supposed to start at 7 a.m., which means we should all be there by like 6:30 to line up to start getting in the water. And I got on that bus at 7:15.
Oh, wow.
Like, it was that bad. Then
did they delay the start of the race for everybody? They're waiting until everybody got there, or they just said, go? I mean, your time starts when you cross the line. I mean, when you get going, right? But
so they delayed the pro start by 15 minutes due to that.
Okay.
But they have permits for shutting down streets and all this other stuff that they have logistics on, like millions and millions of dollars. So they can't like, hey, stretch it out. Though my time, the time for the athletes starts when you cross a certain starting gate line. Right. Though there are cutoffs that get shrunk. Like if you don't complete the swim within a certain period of time after getting in the water, you're at out. A normal start, you're out if you don't complete that time. But if they shrink it by 30 minutes, now you only have that much time. Okay. So it's like the pressure becomes for a lot of the people that are not as skilled to go through that process.
Yeah.
Regardless, I just wanted to get there, right? Like you get, I don't know, anxious. So you get nervous stomach, which makes you have to use like the restroom a lot. So you're in line and you're kind of like, oh, I'd really like to go to the bathroom, but I can't because then I'm not in line. Then you're on a bus. Our bus driver happened to get lost. So he literally is asking athletes that don't have cell phones on them because it's all packed away. Yeah. Like, how can we get there? And there was some other athletes that got on a scooter that were driving. So like, follow those guys. So we get there, they drop us off at about 7:15. We're able to get the wetsuit up and on and line up and get into position to go get in the water. And so that I wasn't prepared for all that. There's a lot of time kind of waiting and moseying around and ice cold. And I think the morning was like 52 degrees and basically with very tight, minimal clothes on. It got really cold, right? So we're like jumping around, doing jumping jacks, trying to just stay warm. People had those aluminum blankets on, I don't know where they came from, but they had them. When I got in the water, it was like a breath of fresh air. 63-degree water felt amazing compared to the 50-something degree cold temperature that I was standing on for the past, and I started at 8 o'clock. So I had 45 minutes after I got to the swim start, 45 more minutes.
So think about this, folks. Think about the things that Aaron's describing right now, right? All the unknowns. As prepared as he was, there were still a number of things that caught him off guard. Okay. Think about the real estate market right now. You may have been well prepared, following a model, following the plan, doing everything you're supposed to, and all of a sudden interest rates go crazy, right? There are things that are always going to happen. And you have a decision at that point to say, you know what? I didn't prepare for this. I'm out, right? I'm not doing it. Yeah. Or you can say, like Aaron said, of like, okay, new circumstances. I'm going to make the best of them, right? Like double down. Let's do more work to get ready to do the actual work, right? Jumping jacks weren't like, you didn't get credit for that. You didn't get credit for like 500 jumping jacks, right? It doesn't add to your trophy at the bottom, but it's just extra stuff you had to do to compete in these new circumstances. And folks, we have to be thinking the same thing of like, okay, I might need to work smarter and potentially even harder during this time to get back to like the starting line of where I would be without all these outside events, right? So same principles, guys, same principles. I love it, Aaron. Talk to us now about when you got on the bike, right? The swim, a success. You're out. However, there was a long journey, was there not, from the end of the swim, all the way back to your bike? Was it like a mile or something like that? You actually had to run?
1.2 miles. And so you get out of the water, and then they have people there to help you get out of your wetsuit, because sometimes those things get difficult to get out. So they rip the wetsuit off of you, hand you your wetsuit, and say, "See ya." And so you're running barefoot 1.2 miles, because remember I told you that stadium thing, we had to go around the complex, all the way in. Yeah, and of course our technology is like tracking our movements through GPS, so everybody's going, wow, barefoot, cold, just swam 2.4 miles, so not feeling like let's go for a run.
So I can get on my bike. Yeah, great. Right. So another, again, kind of curveball coming at you, right?
We were not expecting that. We planned, it was just because it's right across the street. So we planned for just a little quick, whoop, we're there. But they made us go around this condo complex and then around to the backside, which then took us in where we had to go wrap around the inside down into it. It was bananas, different than what we anticipated.
So now you get on the bike, right? You're like, okay, great. I'm out of the water. I'm moving. I'm warm. Go time, right?
Yep. Taking in food, drinking water. And we now are on the bike making strides towards closing out the 112 miles. Now, this is really important because this is a mind game. Bikes, it's a long time sitting on the bike. So you're going. The road was glassy, just super smooth, like fresh pavement. It was amazing. And then we turn a corner and the winds come out of nowhere. And in Sacramento, California, on this very day, after the sun came up, and they had a huge windstorm come in. Just my luck. 35-mile-per-hour wind gusts. And when you're on a bike on big, open, flat country roads, the dust storms, literally the tumbleweeds flying across the streets, and the bike is just getting thrown. I saw people literally get pushed off the side of the road and crash, and like bad stuff because of the wind.
So talk to us through the mindset right now, right? Like, you're committed to this thing. You put in a lot of work. What's going through your head when it's like, look, I didn't plan for this, right? Yeah. This is kind of like a total curveball. How did you work yourself through that to not overthink it, to not get so caught up in these unfair circumstances to where you lost the forward movement?
Yeah, well, I've been there before. So in my training journey, there's been some very long, very uncomfortable rides, not so much with the wind so aggressive, though other circumstances, rain, temperatures, the winds were different, though very uncomfortable. And that's just, look, I'm in it. I committed to it. Today's the day that I actually become an Iron Man. This is what I signed up for, and I'm unwilling to not do it. So I just had to kind of like embrace the suck. And it's like, yeah, the wind was so bad that my lips were getting so chapped up, like wind burned, that you would open your mouth and it's like you stuck your head out going down the freeway in a car, and just like the moisture just comes out of your mouth. It was so aggressive. And so literally just embracing the suck and just saying, look, this sucks, but look, everybody else is here too. I'm not on this journey alone. You are alone, because in the Iron Man event, you're not allowed to like hang out with other people. You can't get close to people and draft off them, because that makes things easier. And but just embrace it and just understand this is temporary. And pain, this is a temporary pain. The goal achieved is bragging rights forever.
It's interesting, as I'm spending time with agents who were licensed in 2008 or in the industry in 2008, their perspective on what's going on right now is very different than those that are experiencing it for the first time. They've been there before. Same words you used, right? Maybe not the exact circumstances, right? For you, the new thing was wind, but you knew that the bike has uncomfortable possibilities, right?
Yeah.
When you're sitting for that long. How long, by the way, how many hours is 112 miles in normal circumstances or in your circumstances?
So in the event, it took me 7 hours and 14 minutes,
Okay.
which is a long time on a very small bike saddle.
Yeah. Right.
In a normal circumstance, in a pre-race, and it should have been like a 6-hour ride for me.
So again, back to my comment of you have agents who have been through difficult circumstances before. And what you said, I think is key, is that this is temporary. And the good agents realize that like there's a thinning of the herd going on right now, that most people can't hack hard things for very long. Either they weren't prepared and, or they can't stomach it. And so they're out. And the opportunity that comes, I was in a top agent mastermind that I co-hosted this past week, a lot of volume sitting around the table. And it was amazing how some agents were saying, man, 2008, 9, 10, those are my best years, because it was not crowded. Even the people that were still in the industry were just moaning about it all the time. And those of us that just got to work had an incredible experience. And I think, right, it's not going to be necessarily comfortable for everybody or anybody. But the reality is, if you can just have a vision beyond right now and be like, it's going to get awesome. I'm going to be an Iron Man at the end of this, right? I'm going to have an amazing business at the end of this. It's going to be fantastic. I think as you can kind of see around the corner a little bit, with, in your mind's eye, you can get through the difficult things.
That's right. You have a commitment to your finish line.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. One thing I learned about myself, Justin, during the run, actually, which, we parked the bike, now we're set up to go on a journey for a long run.
Oh yeah. We're not done yet, guys. After the 7-mile bike ride, we still have a marathon to run. That's unbelievable.
Yeah. We go ride 112 miles. We park the bike, and then with no brakes, we put on running shoes and we go and start our journey on a 26.2 mile run.
So I've done triathlons, by the way. That's probably the hardest transition, is going from bike to run. Your legs feel like they're made of wood. It's like the weirdest thing.
Yes. Well, and then starting also, your body doesn't know how to respond. So your heart rate goes high. Everything kind of spazzes out, because it's like, whoa, this isn't right. Yeah. We shouldn't be doing this. So I get in on this run, and everything's going to plan. I was calculated every 15 minutes. I was taking in 100 calories. I was eating appropriately on the bike every 15 minutes, legitimately, up until mile 90. And then at mile 90, the plans suggest no more solid foods like granola bars and fig bars, but moving to these gels, nutrition gels, and like packets that athletes eat, because it's very light, it's very clean, and it's easy to digest. And so at mile 90, I'm like, okay, I'm transitioning in. Every 20 minutes, I'm taking in these calories and doing it. Start my run feeling like a champ. Honestly, 5 miles of this run, it was so solid. It was like the best 5-mile run I've ever been on. It was just so clean, felt amazing. Like I could do this all day, which is not a normal feeling starting that process in a triathlon, which was different, right? So it's like, okay, we're doing it. And then things started transitioning a little bit. My stomach started to get a little bit sour. Things are like, I'm starting to break down a little bit. People call it hitting the wall. And I was able to get to about mile 12 before that wall punched me in the nose like Mike Tyson.
That's still a long ways to go. You still got 14 miles of going through a wall.
A long ways. Yeah. Yeah. And this is where it got really real, because now it's dark outside. We're all running. I can't take even a sip of water without like gagging, and I know, oh yeah. I mean, it was everything I had in me not to like hurl. And you throw up and somebody sees you, like a race person, a race director or an aid station person, you're getting pulled. You're going to the med tent, you're getting IVs, they are shutting you down from racing until you can demonstrate and move forward. Right? So it's like you just everything you can to fight over these urges and continue to move forward, because it is a race and you got to finish. So it's constantly moving forward, even when feeling terrible at times, and understanding like I've been there before. I've hit that wall, much like you have in marathons, usually comes at a mile of 20 in a marathon. And then that last 6 miles is like that grinder. It's a very common thing. Well, this was a mile 12 because of all the stuff that I just went through already. And so here's what I did. It's like, I've been here before. I know I need nutrition. I know I need to nurse myself. So follow the plan and start taking in little bits of nutrition as I can, getting water in me, and, walking and running as much as possible to keep moving forward. And it took me up until mile 19 to get back to a place where I felt comfortable running for a sustained period of time. And then from mile 19 through the finish, I was able to actually like run the entire time back on my normal pace. So if you're following my timelines, my average per minute mile up until mile 12, and then it was like really low average per minute mile till mile 19. And then it's like, okay, back to normal. Mm-hmm. But that was like darkness was showing up in my world.
Talk us through what you do when you hit the darkness. I mean, a couple things I'm seeing from you is like, just keep moving forward. Forget about the pace. Yeah, you wanted to be going at a faster pace, right? But what some do is like, I can't keep up that pace, so I'm just going to shut down. I'm done, right? They overthink that and they get in their own way, and there's no movement forward. Whereas if you just at least keep moving forward, you'll get your pace back, right?
That's right.
Anything else that stands out from you about that, even the internal dialogue of how you made it through that? There's so many reasons to be like, this is not fair. The wind, right? The setting of where like the bike was, like you could have been making up all these reasons. Like, this isn't my fault. I didn't sign up for this. These people screwed up. You can start to blame other things that aren't you, right? But it doesn't do any good.
Yeah, it doesn't do any good. And also, like, other people are still trudging forward, right? So I think there's something to be said about looking at your community. If you're surrounding yourself by people that are quitting, oh boy. If everybody's like, yep, I'm out. Peace. Nice seeing you guys. Nice to meet you. See ya. Oh, I think we'd be having a different conversation. It becomes so easy because it's acceptable behavior. Not in this, though. Like, this is like, and this is something that I learned that I truly value. I was sharing this with my coach last week, is that this community does not look for shortcuts, Justin. There is no, I wish this was not 112 miles, but 105 miles. I wish it was anything different. It is what it is. The finish line is there, and we committed to this process and finishing within this time frame. And it might be hard. Understand that. There's going to be challenges that you're going to have to decide, are you going to keep moving forward? Because one step forward is better than stopping. You stop, you're done.
I'm sensing that obviously with you and I both being coaches, we recognize that in those moments you lean back on the coaching that you've done, the preparation that you've had, and the people that you surround yourselves with, right? As I mentioned, this mastermind I was a part of last week, there was zero pessimism in that room, right? And there's all kinds of, you in different circles, and there's a lot of pessimism, right? A focus on what's wrong, as opposed to like, I can't control that. Here's what I can control. Here are the silver linings, the opportunities. Here's the solutions to these challenges. And it's so much about, again, I've had almost 350 episodes of this. And it's interesting how common the thread is. It goes back to of who you surround yourself with really matters. We think we can discount the fact that people are having an impact upon us, but we need to be very careful about the associations we have, because we are very much determining what our life's going to look like based on who we allow into our circle and who we invite in. That we can really influence that, not entirely, but in large degree, we can deeply influence it.
Yeah, and our company feels so blessed right now because of the market shift that we're actually able to impact so many people by giving them that community of abundant thinking, big thinking, consistent progress towards developing strengths that they might have as weaknesses right now, becoming better every single day. Like, it is constant and never ending improvement in our world. And we have like opened the doors up across the country for leadership and agent partners that might be struggling on their own to partner with us And we're seeing radical impacts in their lives and their businesses because of that. And I love it. So thank you, Shifting Market.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that was one of the key opportunities is in this market, there's very talented people who just need better leadership. At the end of the day, they just need leaders who can help them to become what they're supposed to become, regardless of the circumstances. So good, Aaron.
So no shortcuts, Justin, and nobody's going to do the work for you.
Yeah.
In this community, nobody's going to push you, or like if you quit, they're like, all right, see you, keep going. But there is no shortcuts, and nobody will do the work for you.
Yeah.
If you want the outcome, commit to it and do it.
So good, man. I'm deeply inspired by your journey as well as you as a human. I'm grateful to have you as a friend and someone that rubs off on me, and grateful for that. I think we've wrapped up our time here. Yes. I'm sure there's so much more that we could do, so we will do it again. In fact, I know folks that are anywhere near the Portland area. Aaron and I are already scheming on doing an in-person event, so stay tuned for that. We don't have the details yet, but we're both interested in pouring into people in big ways during this time. So stay tuned for that. Aaron, one more question before we wrap up here, which is you are a big thinker and a big achiever. What is it that you do to continue to be that way, to continue to expand your possibilities? As if this entire episode isn't already an illustration of that. But any final thoughts on that?
I am really inspired by people that do really big things. And so reading books on others that have done that, Tim Ferriss with Tools of Titan, one of my all-time favorites, because all he does is interview the best of the best. And those people, if you spend time learning what they've done to accomplish what they've gotten, it's hard to think small. Yeah. It's really hard to limit your thinking when you've identified that other people have done what? And it started where? In their garage. And through this constant grind, they were able to create that. Yeah. So reading is a very, very good thing, a very good practice. If you don't know them, go find them.
Yeah, we live in a world now where you can spend time with people simply by buying their book, right? By listening to their audio, listening to their podcast. You can actually legitimately have those people rub off on you. There's no excuse anymore about, well, I live in, mid-America and I don't have access to big thinkers. No, you do. You do. You absolutely do. You just have to think.
You know what? They are so reachable too. You can reach out to those people that inspire you directly through their social channels. And it's not absurd to receive a response and start engaging with these amazing, influential people.
Yeah, I've been impressed by that as well, as how they actually don't get as much reach outs as you think they would, because most people don't have the courage to actually start. Yeah. And I think that's a great lesson for all of us on this episode, is that you don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. And so if today you're at that point where it's like, I've had it, right? Enough is enough. I'm not going to live this way. I belong in a different crowd, different group of achievers in any area of your life. Today's the day you start, right? And I hope that as you're listening to this, this becomes a turning point for many people listening to this. So Aaron, thank you so much.
Take action and don't be afraid to say hello.
I love it. I love it. Aaron, appreciate you very much, my friend. Thank you for all you've done to pour into us and to show the way, lead the way of what it looks like to be a big thinker and a high achiever. Appreciate you. And to everybody listening here today, you know what my final request is. It is these 3 simple words, and they are: go think bigger. Aaron, thanks for helping us do that today, my friend.
Thank you.
Be honest, hearing good ideas is not enough. You have to apply them in order to get the results desired. If you found value in today's episode, then you're really going to love the community of big thinkers and high achievers that we are building in order to help you to apply the principles taught today. If you're not yet a member of Think Bigger Real Estate on Facebook, go sign up